Welcome to Nature's Edge, for your news from where nature and human nature meet, from climate and environment to animal intelligence, human psychology, and all the economies of life. Coming to you today from New York Central Park, where it is very cold, below freezing, and where any migrants who've been passing through here are long gone. New York Central Park is famous for migrations in the spring and the fall, but there are always migrations going on somewhere on Earth. You get a whole new view of life when you look at it through The Great Migrations, the title of the National Geographic series you may have seen on the National Geographic Channel. And our special guest today is Karen Kostel, who wrote the words in the companion book, The Great Migrations. We'll have our trip up the viewer question answered by the end of the show. What is phenology, with a PH, phenology? And do you have any? Now, Karen, before we talk about this, we have vowed always to anchor Nature's Edge Outdoors, whatever the weather, but I think we might go over to Tavern on the Green and get something hot to drink.
That sounds great. You know, this cold weather really reminds me of the young photographer who shot the pronghorn.
As we migrated across Central Park, driven by weather toward food and drink, we were inadvertently doing what so many species do every day or month or year, migration for food and water. And they do it for other reasons, mating, child-rearing, just surviving in a wild world that's red in tooth and claw, as the poet Alfred Tennyson put it. Life's harsh demands and evolution's bloody natural selections are made dramatic when you look at all the different migrations constantly underway around our world. No different, essentially, from our many human migrations, daily for food, drink, and shelter, yearly vacations for better weather and mental health, or even our greater migrations over the years in order to survive, with which we've spread our species around the planet. Migrations are all about moving on, which differentiates us animals from the rooted plants.
The photographer himself or herself is living pretty much the way the animal does.
These are conditions to which we are not adapted naturally.
No.
So we have to do things like invent parkas and underwater scuba gear in order to be able to replicate the same movements that they naturally do with the bodies that have evolved for their habitats.
All true. And then they're also evolving all kinds of technologies to study these animals as they move in environments we can't move in. Often these animals now are wearing the cameras themselves, or they're wearing tiny devices that not just track them. There's something called the daily diary that actually is recording the animal's movements, heart rate, expenditure of energy. It's really telling us a lot about the lives of these animals and how threatened they are. Their migratory routes are threatened. Obviously, global warming is having a big impact. You know, on a day like today, global warming sounds like not so, but in truth, it's the amount of energy in the system that's causing extreme weather, the cold winters, the storms. You have a lot of problems with animals that want to migrate into an area and find that, you know, the conditions they're used to have changed so radically that it's not working for them anymore. A number of them are quite threatened. And the other problem is just the human footprint. Barriers. You know, these animals follow a progression that they followed through, some of them through eons. The pronghorn are, again, a good example. And if you put up a fence where the pronghorn migrate, they have to get under that fence. Surprisingly, they're not animals that jump. So they get caught in barbed wire, they don't make it. So that's just one example. But another animal that's, you know, sort of in our own backyards is the monarch butterfly. And with more and more human development, more roads, fewer fields, they don't have the milkweed, the one plant they need to lay their eggs on, because it's what the caterpillar feeds on. So we're seeing a real decline in the eastern monarch population.
Well, speaking of the need for food for animals that move around, why don't we see if we can get something here. What would you like?
I think I'll have a hot chocolate.
Well, that'll be one hot chocolate. And what kind of brownies are they?
They're called Gianduja. They're hazelnut and chocolate.
Oh, I'm not all that fond of. And what about this one over here? That looks pretty good.
That's a peanut brittle.
You know what? I'll take that peanut brittle and make it a second hot chocolate. 2 hot chocolates and a peanut brittle. Would you like a cookie or something?
No, I'm good.
This reminds us of one of the major reasons. I mean, there's many reasons that migrations happen. Finding mates.
Yes.
Getting out of bad weather, getting into good weather.
Right.
And getting to food that cycles.
And I think food and water are the most critical. The availability of food and water is what's deciding the mating cycle and all of these things. So they all mesh together. You take the wildebeest, and they're going through the breeding cycle, the foaling cycle, all of that happens based on the availability of food and water, and they're just following the rains around the Serengeti. And as the rains fall, you're getting the greening up and you're getting the availability of food.
Now, it must get kind of complicated because aren't there cases where some of the predator species also evolve migrations to keep up with their prey?
That's exactly right. And a good example of that is what Guadalupe Island off Mexico. You have elephant seals migrating in, and the great white sharks know this, and they migrate in too for a food fest while the elephant seals are there to breed. So all of these chains of migratory behavior are so intricately bound that we really don't understand them, and we really don't understand what a disruption to them can mean to the animals, to us.
Of course, people, when they hear about changes coming that are threatening, they say, well, let the animals adapt. Not so easy?
If you know your evolution, animals don't adapt in a generation or two. It takes long periods of time for adaptation to occur, for evolution to occur. So some animals don't make it. Can I help with this?
Yeah, sure. 1 hot chocolate, 2 hot chocolates. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Back in a sec with more of Earth's constant migrations, and see how a still photo paradoxically can be more powerful than moving video.
All right.
Yummy hot chocolate.
Is it good hot chocolate?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go over and sit down here and take a first look at the book.
Back in a sec.